So today is kind of the launch of this proposed Master of Science, and we want to gauge the industry feedback. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end of this presentation, and we're expecting this to be the first of a handful of these presentations that we will do over the next period of time to gauge whether there is an appetite for this type of Master of Science, which we believe there is, and with some high quality presenters, the three people who I just mentioned. And I'm going to hand over to them. I will keep an eye on any questions coming in. If you have any questions throughout, put them into the chat, please. I'll keep an eye on them and I will kind of direct them towards the end of this presentation, and where either one of the three presenters should be able to answer any one of your questions. And if you guys feel comfortable enough, if you want to stick up your hand and have a verbal question, by all means, we can accommodate that also. So I'm going to hand over to our first presenter, who is Alan. So Dr. Alan Hore by his official title. But Alan, over to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Paul, and thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. So this afternoon is about introducing you all to a proposed new Master of Science in MMC Leadership. I am co-founder and director of the Construction IT Alliance. I'm joined by Alan Duffy, Head of Department of the Built Environment and Trades in the Faculty of Engineering and Technology in TUS Midlands, and also by David Tyndall, Senior Consultant from Clerkin Consulting. So this is a collaborative venture, as I say, between CitA, MMC Ireland, and the Technological University of Shannon, based in the Midlands campus. So I'd like to just acknowledge before we start the support that we've received from Skillnet Ireland under the Future Dynamics Co-Creation Programme for 2026, and also from the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage. Their very presence today and the support they provided really signifies the significance of this development. Oh, can I go to the next slide? Why isn't it going to the next?
Who's sharing it?
Have I got use of the slides? Oh yeah, sorry, apologies about that. So the timing of this is pretty significant. Why now? Well, firstly, there is unprecedented policy support for MMC in Ireland. We're all aware of the government's action plan in 2025, placing MMC at the centre of housing delivery and construction modernisation efforts. Many of you will be aware also that the sector is facing major productivity challenges, and the traditional delivery mechanisms and approaches will not deliver the housing and other infrastructure that we need in the country. You may also be aware of the great work being carried out by the expert group in future skill needs, and who have identified substantial skill shortages and the opportunity that MMC can provide. And while technology expertise is very important, it's the leadership capability that is perhaps the most important, so much so that the Housing Action, the MMC Action Plan dedicated a pillar to senior leadership and senior skills needs. And also from that, we can see that there is a significant leadership gap, and that's something that we worked very closely with Clerkin Consulting. So what I might do now is hand you over to David Tyndall, who worked with us in identifying the gap that currently exists in MMC.
Great, thank you very much, Alan, for that introduction. So yeah, I just have a couple of slides here that I'm going to go over, and really what I'm trying to get across is, I suppose, firstly, the why that Alan touched on. Why is this course so important? And then I'm going to look at really what this course is about, give you a brief introduction on what we intend to cover in the course, and then thirdly, I'll look at who this course is intended to address. So in terms of the why, I suppose this course has been designed following very extensive engagement with stakeholders across a whole variety of different stakeholders within the construction industry, from architects, contractors, manufacturers, engineering consultants, and so on, and also a detailed review of existing courses and multiple reports on offsite construction and MMC adoption and so on in Ireland, UK, and also notably in Scandinavia. And I suppose through that engagement with industry and through our review of the existing reports and so on, what became really apparent was that while Ireland genuinely has a world-class MMC supply chain and indeed a growing number of world-class MMC manufacturers, the adoption, as Alan mentioned, it does remain relatively low, particularly compared with countries like Scandinavia. And the question therefore comes up is why is that the case? And the answer, I think, from the people we engaged with, was consistently that there isn't necessarily a technology gap, but rather a leadership knowledge gap. So, we don't have problems with factory capacity or product solutions, but rather, I think what's more needed really to drive adoption is knowledge at leadership level and at decision maker level, to give them the confidence to move ahead, adopt and commit to MMC. So that insight has really shaped the design of the program, and through this program, what we're attempting to do is not necessarily treat MMC as purely a technical subject, but structure the program so it's more practical. And we've structured the program as a practical MMC journey, really a journey initially from adoption through to the optimization of MMC. So the program will begin with really providing a detailed and solid understanding of the technology landscape and the Irish MMC ecosystem and policy environment and so on. And from that, then working towards developing a strategic intent, assessing market positioning and MMC and what MMC could mean for your organization. And then also detailing, really moving into the commercial realities of MMC. What does it mean in terms of supply chain? What does it mean in terms of contractor models, contractual models, ESG obligations? And then really getting into the detailed ROI of MMC, the financial feasibility work needed to really make credible and solid business case for MMC adoption. And then, of course, also, a big part of this course will be looking also at the whole set of sort of, let's say, the softer challenges around MMC adoption, the change management piece that's needed, the organizational design piece, and all of the sort of softer pieces that are needed within the organization to support and optimize the use of MMC. So the program really is being designed around sort of a three-stage journey, if you like. Stage one at the postgraduate certificate level. This is very practical in nature, and it's designed really to support the decision making, to support the knowledge and frameworks, and develop the knowledge and frameworks that are needed to build that credible business case for MMC. And that certificate is going to culminate in a capstone module. The plan here is that it's going to be very practical in nature, very, very much linked to the participant's own organization. So we will culminate in a capstone module at the certificate level, where we'll bring a real MMC pilot project and adoption roadmap to life. That's the intention here, that at the end of the certificate program, participants will leave with knowledge and tools that can be applied to their organization and help them move from awareness to MMC and move them from awareness of MMC really into action and adoption of MMC. So that's the intention at the postgraduate certificate level. Then at stage two, really what happens here is, the organization has adopted MMC, and now it's really time to go deeper and to optimize MMC. So that's the intention of the postgraduate diploma is to go deeper into the topics, with the goal of really embedding MMC into the organization and optimizing its use to really build out that enterprise value and maximize the strategic and operational value of MMC within the organization. So within the postgraduate diploma, we'll be going deeper into topics such as BIM and digital design optimization and design for manufacture, the automation and process topics, supply chain optimization, and again, as I mentioned, that whole organizational design piece and the capability development that's so important to really maximize the benefit and leverage the investments in the other areas within the organization. And again, the diploma will culminate in a capstone module as well. And that's really going to be focused around, maximizing the business development potential through these investments. And then finally, in the third stage is really where we're going to bring all of that learning together into a comprehensive sort of strategic plan for the participants specifically.
What I'll do is I'll send you on the
and really the focus here is on enabling the participants and giving them the tool sets and the knowledge to develop a strategic plan that's built around driving sustainable enterprise value and really trying to, become a world-class deployment of MMC, bring world-class deployment of MMC to their organization. So at this at the MSc level, then the participants will again design a strategic plan, and that's going to be supported through with a mentor from industry, and it'll be presented to a panel. So it's really focused around enterprise transformation project intended to drive MMC. So it's a sequential program beginning with adoption of MMC, then building into optimizing and embedding MMC in the organization, and then culminating in that development of a plan, an enterprise transformation project that will really drive world-class deployment of MMC in the organization. So who is it intended for? Well, as we all know, the adoption and optimization of MMC is really a cross-functional challenge. It requires involvement at every level of the organization, really, because you're talking about really deep organizational transformation here. So the program is designed to equip those people who are involved in sort of moving the needle in their organization, those people who are involved in developing the business case and then driving the optimization and use of MMC in the organization. So it's designed to equip leaders really across multiple areas with a much deeper understanding of the sort of interrelated nature of successful MMC, because it really is a cross-functional operation, really. So the course aims to provide all those participants from functions involved in MMC adoption at any level with those knowledge and the toolkits to make informed decisions. So even from, for example, a BIM manager trying to, I suppose, communicate the importance of a design freeze, or a developer evaluating an MMC proposal from a contractor, or indeed a local authority evaluating an MMC solution from a developer. I think this course will really equip them with the tools, the skills, the knowledge to be able to look deeply at that proposal and understand what is going to make this a successful venture, and how to really deploy MMC solutions in their organization. So really, as I said, it's designed to be of relevance and benefit right across the whole suite of different functions within MMC, and particularly those that are involved in trying to drive the adoption and lead the adoption of MMC in their organizations. And I think across all different functions there will be definite benefit. I've talked to Alan about this, and it's almost like a mini MBA for MMC. That's the way I would sort of see this, because it really goes deeply into sort of financial topics, business case, the organizational challenges around it, as well as obviously looking deeply at things like design, BIM, and also, for example, supply chain and so on. So it's a very rounded program that will have benefit really across all different pillars of the organization.
Yeah, thank you, David. And it goes without saying that your expertise was really important when it came to designing this program, and the feedback we got from industry was a tremendous help to us. We're going to get back to the detail of the program later on. But what I want to talk to you about now is a little bit about the international engagement that we've had with the program. If I get my next slide up. 1 second, sorry about this. Yes, sorry, apologies. Yes, one of the key design principles for this program was that we really needed to get some international insight into it. And it was a combination of the global insight, but also the industry relevance. We see MMC Ireland as the voice for MMC in Ireland, driving the adoption, advancing MMC. So they're critically, and that's the reason why we're working with MMC on this particular project. But we connected to internationally to a number of universities, and these are the universities currently in Canada and in the UK and Australia and New Zealand that we've been in touch with. And the reason why we engage with these organizations, because they either have established programs in MMC, established research in MMC, and it was tremendous really to work with them. For example, in Canada, the University of New Brunswick are actually developing a postgraduate certificate in MMC, and Dr. Jeff Rankin is very interested in getting involved. Many of these universities have expressed an interest in working with us, have expressed an interest in delivering some of the modules, synchronous, non-synchronous delivery. So I think with Alan's team in TUS in Midlands, they'll be engaging with these international offices to ensure that we have that international input. So we really want to combine the content of this program to reflect international best practice, augmented by local case studies, Irish regulatory frameworks, industry specific challenges, and so on. So we really need MMC Ireland, their members, and many of you that are possibly here today, to help us to develop a really world-class program. And we have had a lot of support from and encouragement from these organizations, and we hope that they will be involved in the development of the program and the delivery of the program going forward. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Alan Duffy from TUS Midlands, who's just going to give you an overview of the program itself, and then David will probably come back and just flesh out some of the modules in more detail. Over to you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan. So yeah, as Alan said, it's an MSc in MMC Leadership, and it's designed to be flexible, part-time, and delivered over a 2-year period, 2 calendar years. So here in TUS Athlone, I guess we're in the final stages of the development of the programme, with it going through hopefully internal panel validation next week, subject to any amendments, then progressing to final academic approval in the late summer. So that involves, analysis of module content, learning outcomes, assessment strategies, student supports, and the like. All of that good stuff that's very vitally important. So that'll all go through the full academic approval process here with us in TUS Athlone. So as David already alluded to, the proposed programme is structured in a progressive way. So in year 1, the students complete a postgrad cert. In year 2, then they progress and do the postgrad diploma. And then in the summer of year 2, complete the MSc capstone. And so overall, it's a clear 2-year academic journey. So the focus, as David outlined earlier, in the postgrad cert in year 1 is the adoption of MMC. So modules then will be delivered in a sequential format, running over 6-week cycles. I'll come to that in the next slide. But students would start with, for example, MMC Technology and Ecosystems Exploration in that first 6-week block, followed by market and strategic intent development. Then moving on, the focus on supply chain, contractual and ESG considerations. And then the next module is financial feasibility and business case development. And then in the late spring of year 1 into the summer, the students will complete that pilot delivery and adoption module that David already spoke about, which brings them to the postgrad certificate stage. Year 2 then, the proposed year 2 would be a similar structure with the models, as you can see there. I won't read through them, where students progress to the postgrad diploma. And the focus here is on MMC optimization, building on what has already been learned in year 1. And the final stage in the summer of year 2 would be that Leadership and Strategy MSc add-on, which takes place in the summer, where students will complete that Enterprise Transformation and Industry Leadership capstone project, which is a substantial body of work which should give them substantial advantage within their organisation. So importantly, the programme is designed to be flexible. Students can exit at key stages with a recognised qualification. or continue through to the full MSc. So that is a key feature of the program. The certificate is available for 1 year. If they don't decide to complete out at that's a fine exit award. Year 2, they can take the postgrad diploma, but most we expect, if they go to the end of year 2, will complete the MSc. And also worth noting, each of the 5 credit modules you can see on the page there are available as level 9 micro-credential awards. So that offers additional flexibility for professionals who maybe don't want to complete the full programme. And maybe if I just bring David in, if he does want to elaborate perhaps on some of the module content, particularly in the earlier modules in year 1, it might be over to you, David, for a moment on that. You're on mute there, Dave.
I'm on mute there. Yeah, the critical thing in the adoption phase in the certificate program really is getting to that financial feasibility and business case piece. So I think in that module particularly, what we really be looking at is looking really deeper into the financial feasibility of MMC and trying to get a good handle on capital costs, operating costs. What are the revenue cost implications of MMC? What are the revenue assumptions? Assumptions around accelerated delivery, accelerated program for developers, for example. The adoption of MMC might lead to them being able to develop more projects in a calendar year or a period of time. So it's really about modeling that, but also then looking at stuff like what does it mean for working capital and cash flow, because obviously the contractual frameworks that underpin MMC can be different to traditional construction. So that all has to be looked at in detail. And also, looking at investment appraisal models, payback periods, return on investment, maybe even discounted cash flows and so on. So it's really about building that information, building that knowledge to be able to take a proper detailed financial assessment. What we're intending here is that, the reality is that an organization, a developer, a local authority, or anybody that's looking to adopt MMC, there's going to have to be a fairly rigorous sort of feasibility assessment, a rigorous sort of due diligence process. And that's really what we're trying to develop with this at MMC, in the MMC adoption phase, is to be able to do that, complete that proper due diligence, and be able to, from that, make a really informed business decision about the adoption of MMC. So I suppose the technology exploration, that's really going to be looking at what are the different systems that are available, what is the policy framework, what is the certification roadmaps, and so on. Then the market and strategic intent development is really setting out your stall as to how you can see MMC having an impact on your business. Then getting deeper into the supply chain. What does it mean for the supply chain? Who are the supply chain partners that you want to work with? What are the different frameworks that you need to consider in having partnerships with these different supply chain partners? So look, I again, as just to reiterate, the intention here is to be able to equip participants with the information, knowledge, and frameworks to build a very strong business case, a proper due diligence of MMC. And present that to a board in their organisation or to final decision makers.
Thanks, David. It's probably worth mentioning just before we go on, Alan, to look at the delivery, to acknowledge the work of the assistant professor Daniel McCrum in the School of Civil Engineering in UCD, who really worked with us in a pilot capacity in 2025 to actually locally accredit a micro-credential in technology and ecosystem exploration. So just to thank Daniel for that. But also that's an interesting development, because you could see how other colleges could recognize these modules and you could have a national program. So this is the actual, actually not only a national program, but an international program. So just to thank Daniel for his work, and I believe Daniel will be involved in the delivery of that first module as well, which is great. So we're going to move on now to the, I've got sticky buttons here this afternoon. Sorry about that. Yeah, just going to go back up now to the delivery and learning module. Over to you, Alan. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. So
and thank you, David.
No problem. So the delivery and learning model, I guess, has been designed specifically with professional learners in mind, as David discussed earlier, the target cohort. So that's fine, but we still want to maintain the strong academic standard and the real industry relevance of the program. So that's why we've come up with this particular structure through long processes of consideration. So as mentioned earlier, the modules will be delivered in focused 6-week blocks sequentially. So each one combines weekly live online lecture sessions with structured self-paced, or what we call asynchronous learning, and then separately guided independent study. So this allows students to engage in a way that fits around their work commitments, we believe. So a key strength of the programme, as Alan already discussed, is the international and industry connected approach that we've adopted. So we will have guest lecturers from leading universities, as discussed, specialising in MMC. So Alan already mentioned the University of New Brunswick in Canada, the University of Newcastle in Australia, along with strong contributions from our UK institutions, which are closer at hand. So these partners have already expressed very strong support for the programme and a willingness to contribute in its delivery across a range of different platforms. So overall, the model is designed to be practical and manageable. We believe live lectures take place in the evenings under the proposal, and importantly, assessments will be aligned with the students' professional roles. And this is the key feature of it. So this means learners can apply their academic work directly to the real challenges in their organisations. And hopefully this will ensure real tangible impact, not just academic outcomes across, not just the capstone modules, but the ordinary 5-credit modules, the assessment in those, we really want to drive at that, there's an opportunity for students to apply those assessments into their organisations. So that's Alan, if you want to move on to the next slide there. So I guess the fee aspect of it. So the fee structure aligns with the flexible part-time nature of the programme in its staged progression. So students can build towards the MSc over 3 stages, as Dave discussed previously. So with fees of $3,500 per year for each of the postgrad cert in year 1 and the postgrad diploma in year 2, followed by the top up of 2,790 for the MSc add-on in the summer of year 2. And as we already discussed, each of the 5 ECTS modules are also available as standalone micro-credentials for a fee of $690 for those who don't wish to take the full programme, maybe just want to, as we say, cherry pick each of the modules, and they're all very relevant modules depending on your organisation. CitA is currently securing a fee subsidy of 40%, as Alan may have already spoke about and might come back in later on, although this would be confirmed on a year-by-year basis. And before I hand over to Alan, just in terms of, we don't have it in the slide, but in terms of the entry requirements to the programme, it may be a question that will come up later. So the proposal is that applicants would need a level 8 qualification. This is a level 9, obviously the master. So the applicants would need a level 8 qualification in construction, civil engineering or related discipline. There would be an alternative route for applicants or entrants to be considered under our RPL, or recognition of prior learning route, for experienced professionals from the industry, and that will be done on a case-by-case basis in line with the university policy, which would be aligned with national standards in that regard. Alan, do you want to come in a bit on?
Yes,
on
thanks very much,
part?
Alan. Just to say, CitA are very fortunate to receive support from Skillnet Ireland under the CitA Skillnet brand, and we have funding for 2026. But a defined level of funding in 2026. But effectively, if you qualify for CitA Skillnet funding, which predominantly is private sector funding, you will get a discount on the fees that you see on the left-hand side. But there are requirements associated with that, and we'd be delighted to support any businesses going forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, a call to action to you all here this afternoon. Why this programme matters? Well, the programme matters because we're in the position we need to accelerate MMC adoption. It's proven now that it has significant benefits, and I can address many of the challenges we have in construction today. It will deliver strategic leaders of the future. It will support our national policy. It will connect us globally to other countries and other jurisdictions who have the same challenges as us, by the way, but also with industry relevance, thereby the importance of working with MMC Ireland and their members. And above all, it's a pathway for growth. It's a pathway to a new industry and a more industrialized, more sustainable sector. So thank you for listening to us this afternoon. I have a very large QR code there on the screen. So I'm going to leave it up there. So if you have the time, we'd appreciate you completing that form. It's really for all stakeholders to see whether you're interested in the program, if you've any feedback on the program, if you'd like to be involved in delivery of any of the modules, if you'd like to be involved in providing case studies for the students and so forth. We need your support. Why? Because we need a minimum of 25 students to start this program. So thank you so much for listening to us. Can I just say how much a pleasure it's been working with you, Alan, and working with you, David, over the last number of months. And I really hope we can deliver something that we can be all proud of. Thank you so much.
Alan, thanks very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks very much. And Alan, thank you very much for that. I think you'd all agree it's a pretty comprehensive presentation and a really detailed and well thought through proposed Masters of Science in MMC. And we have a few questions coming in, guys, which I will share with you now in a second. One is very easy to answer, which is kind of shares the slides be shared. Yes, the slides will be shared to every participant on this call today. We will get that out to you, if not today, certainly by no later than tomorrow. The video recording of this presentation will also be available on the MMC Ireland website, and that will be available from tomorrow. So there's going to be 4 questions in. That's the first one, guys. Second one that's pretty easy to answer is, what is the discount code that CitA provides? I think I'll let Alan Hore answer that. I know it's 40%. I'm not quite sure if there are conditions with that, Alan, but I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah, we've received a certain level of funding. And once we have university approval internally and external, and by the way, we're going to external approval in September. Once we have that in place, then we can start to, to formally commence the program. But as applicants come in, so how it effectively works is that we will pay the university the full fee for each student that registers, and then we will invoice the company for 60% of that effectively. But that could be 65%, it could be 70%, it could be, it depends on the level of funding. Now, I have a lady beside me, Suzanne Purcell, who is the expert when it comes to fees. Suzanne, how would it work in practice?
So, as Alan's explained there, that's correct. The funding is coming from Housing for All. Yeah. I think we will be able to give more than, we might be in a position to give a 50% discount off it. Okay. But we are looking for at least 25.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're looking for at least 25 applications in order for this course to run.
Yeah. And we are hopeful that the microcredits will also be of appeal.
Yes.
As people want to sort of select from.
Stack them up.
And they can stack them up. But obviously
we're hoping for people to
finish the cert,
finish the diploma and then
do the masters. Yes. And I think the medium-term plan would be to engage with the professional bodies, the RAI, SCSI, Engineers Ireland, ACI, and to get these professional bodies to recognise these courses and to maybe validate these programs. We probably see this course sort of organically. There's a detailed description behind every module. We're sitting in front of both a national and international panel in a number of months, in weeks, days. So it stacks up now, but we can see it sort of developing an agile program that will develop over time. And as we talk to professional bodies, we may have to tweak some of the content, but by and large, we feel this content is highly relevant right now.
Thanks, Alan.
Anything to add there, Alan and David?
Yeah, I think there's a few questions coming in there from others in that broad area, Alan. So,
next couple are for you, Alan. So it's well to have you there. One from Louise, the first question we had was, it's actually a pretty good question. Does the level 8 entry requirements apply to the micro credentials also?
Yeah, so I guess from a basic point of view, yeah, absolutely. The level 8, because that's the way the QQI system works. It's progressive from level 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up along. So there would be a level 8 entry requirement for the micro creds, but the RPL process would also be available. And if somebody was just doing a single micro cred, the RPL process would be specific to that. So I mean, but the straight answer is, and we have to get straight answer is, yes, it is because of the academic standard, and we absolutely are custodians of the academic standard, and it's not worth giving out if it's not. So the level 8 is a requirement, but the recognition of prior learning. So just to elaborate very, very quickly on what that is, somebody presents who doesn't have a level 8, but they have significant professional expertise, professional experience, perhaps other certifications in different areas, and through our process, and it's a fairly comprehensive process, we assess what they have and equate it to the required level 8. And I guess we you know, if you want to come back to us directly on that, we can explore how that works. We would assist people in it. It's as much about making the person taking on the program realise the challenges they're facing as it is about us guarding the gate, for want of a better word.
Thanks, Alan. I like this. I'll keep this while you're here, Alan, and I'll then put it out to Dave and Alan if they want to come in also. But it's from Andy Kiley. So, high professional architectural education, working in offsite for over 20 years. It's obviously highly experienced. Currently in a subcontractor model, delivering mass timber projects. How do you see this program as beneficial to the subcontracting model? Probably Andy probably thinking about himself and maybe co-workers, etc.
Yeah, look, it's probably one that David will have the real insight here, because it really is a program that is designed for this type of organisation, this type of professional. I would say that, David, wouldn't you?
You're on mute.
Yeah. I think if you look at the individual, what we could do there is we can send Andy the sort of outline of the curriculum for the different programs. But yeah, certainly I think what it can do is help you to see where your business can grow and expand, and maybe put in frameworks for the development of your organization. I think, exploring maybe lean options, looking, the program will also be looking in depth at BIM, it look at supply chain models, and I suppose really, getting deeply into perhaps there's opportunities for your business to expand through collaboration with other supply chain partners. Maybe there's opportunities to move up the value chain and take contracts directly through strengthening your supply chain partnerships, and maybe looking at ways to improve and optimize your speed of delivery and so on. So I think there should be areas within the program that will certainly be of benefit to you. But I think what we should do for Andy is maybe we can provide a outline of the course content, and he can have a look through that in detail.
Just to come back to you on that, obviously we'll have to go through the accreditation first before we can do that. However, what I would say is that this program is agnostic when it comes to different methods of MMC. So whether it's volumetric, 2D panelized, 3D printing, structural, assembly or non-structural assemblies or whatever. It's very broad, but it's a business focused event program, and as such it should appeal to all businesses who are either currently in MMC or looking to move into that area. There should also be significant benefits working as teams on this project, and also getting the advice from the mentors who will be experienced people working in this sector. So it should appeal to all.
Thanks, Alan. A couple more guys just before we wrap up. One from Damien. So, hi Damien. This is probably for you, either Alan Hore or Alan Duffy. All going well with academic approval and student interest, when would it be expected that the initial PG cert would begin?
Yeah, I'll come in on that, Paul. I guess we are at, it is still a proposed program until we get it fully approved, and that's, I suppose, something we're not hiding behind. We're very confident. The short answer is we will definitely be running the postgrad cert in the 26-27 academic cycle. We're hoping to commence delivery in sort of the October time. They're running 6-week blocks. And that will be that's the current state of play. We don't anticipate any major roadblocks, because we've got dates running up to that allow it to roll out in that fashion. So that's the straight answer. We still have to go through it, as Alan said. We have, we go into panels, they may come up with changes. We don't expect any delays, but that's the plan. So subject to a cohort and all of those approvals, we'll be expecting to start that first module on the ecosystems in the October sort of time frame. Student applications and student expressions of interest we can take you know, in advance of that, and then we can process student applications once it's fully approved through our academic council. And it's worth saying, you know, that's very important. The rigorous academic interrogation that goes on in approval, as good of an idea as we think it is, or the delivery models, we do need all of that strong cross-examination, and that's what we're right in the middle of now. And that's what this process here is about too. We're hoping if people will scan that QR code and express interest, something we may not have thought about on some of the more minor details will become obvious to us, you know. But we are confident. We're very confident.
I mean, just to say, to augment that, this meeting is very important. We'll actually be mentioning this next week to the review panel. This engagement with industry is critically important. If we get people to fill in that expression of interest form, and even if they tentatively say, well, we would sponsor 1 place, 2 places on this course, if we can go to a panel and we have greater confidence that we can run this program, which we will. It's also important to say that this program is being delivered within the academic calendar of TUS Midlands. So it sits in the calendar, and the lecturers on that campus will be sort of managing these modules, supported by international expertise and industry support. So yeah, it's getting that kind of industry support is really what's needed now, so that we can make this program, start this program in October, which is the plan.
Totally agree.
We've total confidence in that. Total confidence in this course. Yeah.
I know you do, Alan, and it's shared by the committee. I think a couple of more questions. I think Alan, Duffy, one for you again.
Yeah.
Is the master program only commencing in 28? I think you've answered that, but part B of the question from Craig is, if you have a level 8, would you and would like to go straight to the masters? Can you do that?
No, I suppose, well, I'll just elaborate. A master's is, in our format here, and there's different variations of it. This is a 90 ECTS, a 90 European Credit Transfer equivalent master's. So you would need to get 90 credits. This is a stacked program, so you couldn't just jump in and take the 30 credit add-on without having done the previous 60. Now, there is separately a mechanism for exemptions on modules. It's part of our academic regs. It's unlikely to be the case here because these are very bespoke, specific modules. It would be, for example, on a normal program, if you had already completed a module in leadership or in communications, we would assess it and maybe grant you an exemption. I know I'm going off topic a bit, but the short answer to Craig's question is, the master's element will kick in 2028, but you couldn't just step in and take the capstone and then get awarded a master's by TUS. You could step in to do some of the micro creds in 2028, but not the masters in that fashion. But look, our doors are open to discuss and explain all of that to anybody after this call.
Which makes complete sense. Last one in from Olivia. Olivia from Roadmaster. Hi, Olivia. Will the course be validated by QQI?
Yeah, it's probably for me as well, and Alan might come in on this. Yeah, we've developed authority to award level up to level 10. So this is a level 9 award. It'll be QQI, and that's why the process is as rigorous as it is over the next number of months. So it will be validated as a QQI on that wheel of standards. Okay, I think that is the end of our questions, which is great, and thanks for the participation, guys, and putting forward those questions. And hopefully those answers were pretty much on point, which I believe they were. So just want to, before we wrap up, I just want to thank Alan Duffy, Alan Hore, and Dave Tyndall. Hopefully you found that really informative. The amount of work that's gone in behind the scenes by not only the 3 people who presented, others behind the scenes. I think this proposed masters is unique in its content. I think it's innovative. The fact that it has so much international buy-in is a huge opportunity for anyone who wants to partake in this course, both work in Ireland and recognised outside our country. So I would urge those who have an interest in this sector to scan that QR code, get involved, spread the word on us. We'll be talking to the other representative bodies around getting the message out, having maybe another handful of these, and hopefully we can get this kick-started at the end of this year. So thank you to everybody involved. And as I say, the video content of this will be on the MMC Ireland website. The actual presentation itself, the slides will be shared with all who contributed today and all the attendees. So that being
just
said,
to say, thank you, Paul. Just to say also thank you, as I say, to Skillnet Ireland and to the Department of of Housing, Local Government and Heritage for their support on this programme. Also thank David and Alan for all the support they've given us over the last few months, and Anna, who's done all the hard work in the background. And it was great catching up with you in London yesterday. So thank you so much. I hope you found it informative. Watch this space, fill in that form, and we'll make this a success. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Alan. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Enjoy
Thanks,
the rest of your
everybody.
day. Thank you.
Cheerio now. Thanks. Bye-bye.